Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Collective Consciousness Show with Colin Reich. This is episode number 37 today with my guest for the second time, Mr. Chuck Harmon.
Yes, in the flesh.
This is great to have him back on because it's been a couple months since I've seen you and a lot has happened. So where do we start?
Major developments. So I think we left off last time. I was talking about how thankful I was for my job and how happy I was to go to Texas Roadhouse every day, but how management, has been a little shifty as of late. And, so I actually had a dream a week prior to major event.
Right.
And the dream was Todd, who was our general manager, he was firing me in the kitchen. And he kind of was passive aggressive about it. And I was like, am I fired? And he was just like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I don't remember exactly what I did, but I remember in my dream it was like a message. It was like a sign. So a week later, I was serving it was like a 7-top, and I had just came into the restaurant. It was on a double. And I had got triple sat as soon as I walked in. And they triple sat me with the large party first. So as I was talking to this table, they were ready to order, but of course they weren't ready to order. I had to read them every single side, every single, I go down the drinks, whatever. So they end up racking up like a $200 bill. Perfect. Everything's fine. Salads come out. Appetizers fine. Everything's going good. But I had just a suspicion that they weren't going to leave me a tip. So I asked Donovan, the busser, to see if there was any cash on the table when I went after he busted the table. And he said there wasn't any cash. So before they left, I seen them getting to-go bread, like a couple dozen boxes. Well, not a couple dozen rolls and 2 boxes of to-go bread after not tipping me on a $200 tip, by the way.
They didn't tip you at all?
No,
or?
Not a dollar on a $200 check. And then got asked the host, because they snuck behind my back, and then they asked one of the hosts to get them to-go bread. They wouldn't ask me because, of course, they just stiffed me for 2 dozen to-go breads. And as they were walking outside, I followed them, and I was like, hey, guys, was anything wrong with your service? And they were like, no. And I could tell they were like dumbfounded that I actually followed them outside, which is, you don't do that. But yeah. But and I was like, was something wrong with your service? Was there anything that I could improve on? And they were like, the woman, she was like, you were being stupiditous. Like, she made up some word that didn't exist. And I was like, stupiditous. And then she realized she wasn't making sense. She wasn't coherent. So she was just like, you weren't attentive. And I was like, okay, was there something wrong with your salads? Was there something wrong with your appetizers? She was like, we just don't tip. And I'm like, all right.
You
guys just have
you got to the point.
Yeah. So they were. I was just like, you guys have a great rest of your day. And then inside the car, I hear one of the other women. She was like, yeah, that's the attitude we're talking about. And I'm like, that's crazy, because I didn't even have an attitude until you guys decided to stiff me on a $200 check and walk out the door. And I was like, this is how I pay my bills. And they were like, well, it's not our job to pay your bills. It's your job, your employer, to pay you. Whatever.
Well,
so
I mean,
well, to each his own. But
that's
you
people
go out
that
to
have
eat,
never worked
you
in
go
that
out to
industry.
eat. You get margaritas and you get kickers in the margaritas. You order appetizers. You get onions and mushrooms on your steaks, and then you don't tip your server.
Right. Do you think that servers make it doesn't matter how big your check is, they make the same amount of money on every check? No. So that's why tips exist, kind of.
And you also, what they don't understand, if you stiff the server, he also tips out the bar. He also tips out the bussers,
and
that's taken, and the host, and that's all taken out. So you actually are paying for them to come eat.
Yeah.
So what happened was, after that happened, I walked back inside. I wasn't even hot and flustered. I wasn't even upset. I wasn't angry. I've gotten angry at work many times.
Yes.
Many times. But this time I wasn't even upset. I was just genuinely confused why they didn't leave me a tip.
Right.
And about 20 minutes later, Paul just gives me that look, like, what did you do? And I'm like, what? They didn't tip me. I just asked them what was wrong with their service and how I could improve.
Right.
And he was like, well, Todd wants to speak to you in the office. And then I went back in there, and he was like, so what happened? And then I told him exactly what happened. I didn't, fluff anything. And he was like, so we have to immediately terminate you, right? And I was like, there's no suspension, there's no write-up, there's no disciplinary action. It's just right fired. He was like, yep. And I'm like, you can't let me finish out my tables. He was like, nope. And I was like, all right, whatever. And I took it on the chin, as cool as I could. Took it on the chin. I went out I wasn't even upset. I just said goodbye to everybody, hugged a couple people, walked out, got in the car nothing was going to, it was okay, another slap on the wrist. But a week went by, no job. 2 weeks went by, no job. A month went by, no job. 2 months went by, no job. And at this point, I'm printing out resumes. I'm printing out dozens of resumes, and I'm going in to every single restaurant in Bel Air face to face. And I had sit down interviews with 5 different places. Not a single place called me back. And I had just this idea. I mean, they actually the interviews went really well too. So I was shocked that I thought I would have got hired on the spot. I had a few of them, but no, never called back. I mean, I didn't follow up with them, but still, I felt like I would have got a call back.
Right.
And so I had this idea of Jake and Kyle, how they went over to Great Wolf Lodge, and with the virtual assistant, I got an interview in 30 seconds. I applied online with a virtual assistant, texted me, said and they scheduled an interview for 2 weeks ahead. And mind you, I'm slowly but surely losing everything. My bills, I'm overdrafting in my accounts. My car payment's a month late. My car insurance is a month late. My rent is due $1,500. My BG&E is about to get shut off. My Comcast was getting shut off. I had to borrow money to feed my cats. And it was slowly, and right before the holiday season too. I had to worry about Christmas and all that. Slowly but surely, I was losing everything, and luckily, thankfully, I had my girlfriend was able to let me borrow $1,000, and Braden ended up helping me out $850 to buy something that he knows he doesn't even really need, but he just he knows that I wouldn't ask him for the money, so he basically offered to buy something of mine, and then you can just keep it until you're able to pay me back, type of deal. So
right,
which I went in for an interview at the Great Wolf Lodge. Everything went perfect. She was like, "You're hired instantly." Everything went great. I taught her about my experience. Doing side work. What do you pride yourself on as a server, stuff like that. And I thought everything's great. Say my amens. I got hired at Olive Garden about the same time. I started Olive Garden. Worked there for about 2 days. Went into the kitchen at Olive Garden. The most disgusting kitchen you could ever walk into. White Marsh, Olive Garden, do not eat there. I mean disgusting. Filthy. You could, if you had a credit card, you could get an inch of grime off of the floor.
Classic White Marsh.
I mean,
shit.
I worked at the Texas Roadhouse in White Marsh. You could way cleaner. Falston, yeah. You know how the silverware is at Falston. Mm-hmm. That doesn't hold a candle to the dirtiness of Olive Garden. That was my favorite spot too. I could not physically go from Texas Roadhouse to Olive Garden. That's how bad it was. That was a demotion.
And people think Olive Garden's higher end.
Yeah, no, that is completely. And the guy, it's very embarrassing for an interviewer to hire somebody, talk about how much he prides himself on his restaurant and all that, and then bring me back to that kitchen.
Right.
I would shut that down. And I'm a person who comes to work. I don't want to do anything extra, deep cleaning or anything like that. But I would shut that down. No food would come out of that kitchen.
Right.
But that was a little tangent. So I work at Olive Garden, walk in that kitchen, never show up again. Quit. But that was only because the Great Wolf Lodge hired me.
Right.
So she says you start on Monday. I come in on Monday, and they're like, you got to go up to HR for orientation and what's it called, onboarding. I go up there. What's waiting on the table for me is a drug test and a background check. Instantly, heart dropped. I don't even know why I'm here anymore. This is a waste of my damn time. The woman at the thing, I was like, I have a medical marijuana card. Is that? She was like, unfortunately, this is a drug-free environment. I understand if you want to go home, but you can take the test anyway. But I'd understand if you want to leave. And I had just drove 40 minutes. I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I spit in the cup. I take the test. 5 minutes later, she goes, "You're clean." I'm like, no way.
How?
No.
How?
No way. So she turns the cup over. She's like, "Do you want to see?" Because I'm questioning. I'm like, no way. It was just stupid. Just stupid. She turns the cup over, and it's clear as day positive for THC, for marijuana. Because you have solid bars if you're negative, opioids, cocaine, Adderall, all that negative. THC, not a line at all. And I'm over there squinting you're looking at the same test that I'm looking. They just turned a blind eye for marijuana, or maybe because I was honest about, my medical marijuana card.
Yeah.
They just completely. The background check, whole nother story. It's like, okay, I passed the drug test, still not passing that background check.
Yeah.
Ever. I was literally, I was on some depressive stuff. I was really,
That's always going to be a question.
Yeah.
Just because of stuff that we've actually talked about.
Yeah. So Jake, actually, I was like, Jake, he was like, so you got hired you were starting going to work at Great Wolf Lodge. I don't even know who told him that. I don't know how that got to Jake that I was going to work at the Great Wolf Lodge. But I was like, yeah, I just don't know if I'll pass the background check. And he was like, as long as it's not assault or theft, you're okay. And I'm like,
well,
oh,
the things that you had to pick.
The things that you had to pick are
Right.
the exact things on my record. So I actually got a copy of the background check, and I had a flag for a second-degree misdemeanor assault. Overlooked it, got a text, said, can you come in for orientation? When I dropped on my knees and praised the Lord. I dropped on the knees and praised the Lord. Because I was at my wits' end with my bills. I was out of options. And actually I was trying to sell my car because my car completely went to shit, and it's only worth about $7-8 grand. I owe 15 on it. So and I know it's only a matter of time before it blows up. And luckily for those 2-3 months where I was without a job, my car was the only thing in my life that did hold up. But in the last week or two, since I've been at Great Wolf Lodge, car completely blew up again. So right now I drove my mom's car to here, and long story short, I would have paid $1,000 for my car to get fixed. I let her boyfriend do it for free. Car is worse than ever. Completely destroyed my car. I don't know what he did. This man, I should have known the moment he started talking about, let me YouTube what's wrong with your car. Let me get on you. Like somebody that knows about cars isn't going to be like, okay, let me YouTube the problem.
Right. They're going to know.
They've been through it enough to be like, oh, it's probably this before they even look at it.
Right.
Not let me check the codes. Let me go on
You're
YouTube.
like, it's making this sound. Oh, this is happening.
Belt. Right. It's a misfiring engine. Not let me so yeah. And my mom's all defensive about it, screaming at me, it's just a sensor, it's just a sensor. I'm like, my car can't even idle for 60 seconds without turning to dies. Like, are you kidding? A sensor?
Right.
And so I was like, if my car's so fine, you drive it to work. And I just took her car. Well, she was already letting me use her car, but I'm like, my car's so fine, right? My car is so fine, you drive it to work. You have a great time. Great time driving to work. So I don't know if my mom drove it to work today because I don't think it was able to drive to work. But she takes the light rail to work anyway.
Okay.
So, yeah. I am at the Great Wolf Lodge. I am making about double, if not triple, the money that I was at Texas Roadhouse.
Wow.
Really, really good money. The only negatives are it pays every 2 weeks. It's a cashless building, so you get all credit card tips. Taxes are automatically taken out of that. But double, triple what I was making. And then the hours, you're there for a little longer. Side work is tedious. I did 4 hours of side work. I got cut at 8:30 last night. I didn't leave till 12:30. That's not normal, but last night they did me dirty. They gave me 3 side works in one because there was only 5 of us on when usually there's 15.
Yeah.
So, everything's a blessing in disguise. I went through all that, and I paid back. I'm making $1,000 as soon as I got paid. I'm on my way to pay back Braden, and now I'm better off than I was prior to working, but when I was at Texas Roadhouse. So everything happens for a reason. It's a blessing. Megan's actually trying to come over to the Great Wolf Lodge, but I got in at a great time because when I texted, they said wait a couple weeks for an interview, and then by a miracle they texted back an hour. Actually, can you come in today for an interview?
Yeah.
She got the first text she got was, you have to wait. It's just indefinite. You wait indefinite for an interview, and then we'll let you know when there's an interview.
Do you think maybe Jake saw something and he kind of put in a word for you?
I don't think it had anything to do with Jake. No, because he's in the kitchen. And this is a front of house.
Right.
And actually, the hiring manager who hired me quit about 2 weeks after I was there. She just walked out. She got tired of it because they locked the manager's office, so they couldn't sit down in the office, which they shouldn't be. They should be out on the floor. But
reminds me of something. But I'm currently at a place. So,
how is Roadhouse? Same old Roadhouse.
Same stuff. I mean, when we were texting, you were like, "How's it going?" I'm like, I'm just doing me,
Yeah.
And you can to a certain extent you can kind of control, what happens, what doesn't happen, because I can just ignore it. I don't care that you're screaming at me to run food, because I do my job anyway, and I can just tune that out to a certain extent. But when it starts to become at a level where it's just everything is, falling off, all the screws are loose, and which isn't the case there.
Yeah,
that's probably most restaurants.
Yeah.
So like there's always going to be corrupt management. There's always going to be coworkers you don't like. There's always going to be people that, customers that are, are just totally ignorant to the fact that you have a job and you have a life and you like have feelings. So there's always going to be people that treat you like shit no matter where you work. So it's just like I kind of ignore it and I'm like, all right, the money's solid and I like the majority of the people I work with. And would it really be better if I went somewhere else? Could I find a job somewhere else that pays as good and where the people are, as good as they are? Who knows?
My answer is yes.
Probably,
Yes.
but how long would it take to find that?
That's the question.
That's the question.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm managing it, and I don't. I mean, is there stuff I would change 100%? But I'm not at the point where I'm like, I need to get out of here. So
yeah, I never got at that point either. I was close many times, and actually, like since I've stepped from Roadhouse, like it is a sigh of relief to be away from there.
Yeah,
because it's one thing dealing with customers, because as you said, customers are going to be customers. People are going to be people. No matter what restaurant you go to, you're going to have to deal with difficult people.
Yeah.
But you don't have to deal with a difficult GM who's on the very top using his authority in a detrimental way. And I think that spirals down. Like you can have, a manager who you don't like, but when it comes from the very top, I think it seeds, an insurrection among employees. But like you said, the wheels aren't falling off completely, even though I've been in that restaurant where it felt like the wheels are falling off. Like we're out of 6-ounce sirloins. We're out of prime rib. We're out of baked potatoes at Texas Roadhouse.
Last night, it was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Party didn't, the wait list didn't get past like 15 parties. We almost ran out of 6-ounce sirloins.
Yeah. How do you do that?
I don't.
On Tuesday. That's a Sunday thing.
I heard that and I was like, I don't even, like, even on Sundays we shouldn't be running out of it. But I mean, there's stuff. Do I think that certain people are gonna watch this podcast? Probably not. But I don't know. So I can't. There's stuff. I mean, people know it exists. Yeah. So I can't. I don't want to risk.
Don't out your outs.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's kind of like there is some ridiculous stuff going on, and off air I can tell you some stuff that's happened since you've been gone that you'll be like, what the fuck? Like, but it's above my pay grade, as we all like to say. Yeah. So we'll talk off air, but still, yeah, I mean,
and I don't care. I'll put people on blast. Mindy didn't do a damn thing for me when I lost my job. Didn't do a damn thing for me. I tried, like I asked her, and she vouch for me to get me transferred. And actually Todd, he didn't technically fire me. He kept me in the system, and I was trying to transfer to another Roadhouse. Went to the Roadhouse. They said it was all cool. We just got to speak to Todd. But the reason why I had left that Roadhouse in the first place was because I was sleeping with the kitchen manager's girlfriend.
Oh.
So when that got back to Rob that I was trying to come back, and then this person heard about it, he was not happy about it, and he's also, and he was like how Jake was. He was in that position, like the main kitchen manager.
Yeah.
So like that wasn't. He told me originally that he would love to have me back, and then when it got back to Dylan, it was, we have too many servers right now. We just can't take on another.
Right. Yeah.
When you would have told me that in the first place. Not we're excited to have you back.
Yeah.
So, but so he didn't do. And Minnie was like, "Okay, I'll call around. I'll get you transferred." She didn't do it. She didn't even not one phone call, not one conversation did she have in my defense to try to get me anywhere. It was like I never existed. Hasn't texted me one time asking me how I've been doing. And this is somebody. I don't want to say all the things I've but like I take a little offense to it.
Yeah.
Because I thought she cared about me more than that. I thought she actually cared about me. She calls me her little chicklets, all of her, but when I was out at Roadhouse, I was out of her life,
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, that's
expecting that.
To a certain extent, a lot of management is that way. Yeah. And I think everybody has a different experience with different people. So it's, I can't really speak on management. I like Mindy. I
used to love Mindy.
I'm being very honest and clear here. I like her. I think she's a good person. I think that she does well at her job, for the most part. But everybody in any position struggles at certain things. So I'm not in a position to judge her and her job performance when mine could always be better too.
I'm not
And
judging her job
right,
performance.
yeah,
I'm judging how she treated me as a person.
right, which is totally fair. And could I do that job? No, because to be a
I
service
think
manager,
you're capable of anything, Colin.
I think I
Truly.
am too, but I haven't been trained to do that. And there's certain stuff that like at this point, I I could try and I could probably manage my way through it, but I wouldn't be as good as somebody that's been doing it for a decade. So, like it's hard being a service manager of a restaurant that's super busy all the time and you constantly have to talk to people that you don't want to talk to, that you don't like,
Yeah.
and you have to act like you like them
Be professional. 100%
because
of
they've
the time.
been because they've been coming there for 7 years and you feel like they're your friends but they're really not.
Did you ever hear about the story when a guest was at the bar and he was like cursing out Sarah, the
Yeah.
bartender, and Bob told him to get out.
Right.
Exact opposite thing happened with Mindy.
Yeah.
A manager or an owner that will stand up for his employees and take the back of his employees when he knows that the customer was wrong, that's something that you hold on to. That's a valuable manager. That's a valuable boss.
Right.
Somebody that sticks up for you. I've had an instance where a guy literally told me that I was incapable and incompetent at my job in my face and told me I should get a new job. And Mindy took all of his food off, apologized on my behalf. And he could have just told him to pay for his stuff and leave, not apologize. I get it. Smile, customer's always right. Give them what they want, keep it moving. But
Yeah.
stick up a little bit. Just gave him all this. He was rude to me, and now gets all of his food for free. Tells me I'm
Right.
incompetent. Now he gets all of his food for free and a coupon to come back.
Yeah. Everybody's got a different style of how they manage things. That's what I'll say. So but you're in a better place now, which is
Absolutely.
the important thing because you can put that shit behind you and not have to worry about it and not have to worry about those people or that environment, So
The yin yang of that is where I work now. There really isn't an authoritative figure, so it kind of is a free for all, but it doesn't get crazy, doesn't get wild. Because the servers can handle it. They overstaff the servers. They can handle it. But when something does happen and you look for a manager, there might be one manager on the floor, and if they're out doing something, you're completely on your own.
right.
And side work, there's no big guy being like, hey, you got to do this and do this. It's like servers holding each other accountable for their side
Yeah.
work and doing stuff like that. So, and I can see that becoming an issue. They're ironing out, because they've only been open 6 months, they're ironing out the details of how to run a restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're not there yet, but they're close. The money is, that'll keep you there no matter what. At every single shift at the end of the night, we have to roll 100 silverware. And polish and roll 100 because they have packs of linens of 100. And we have to fill 100 ketchups. And then which means you got to portion 100 ketchups on a big tray. And then whatever your side work is for that day. Like yesterday, mine was stock all the micros, and there's 6 micros. Each of them takes 50 cups and as many plates as you can fit. And then you got to wipe down it all. Then you got to take the trash from each 6-1. And then they not only did they give me that one, they gave me to clean Expo too. So I got to take everything off of Expo, dump everything out, sweep Expo, mop Expo. 4 hours of side work. It was ridiculous. But when you made $356 on a Tuesday, you're feeling pretty good about it.
I was like hovering at 100. So
Yeah, and that's exactly what. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it's pre-tax though. So if you don't get any,
yeah, that is true.
it takes about a quarter of what you make.
Right.
So, but it's
Yeah.
also good. I'll owe $4,000 this year. I owed $4,000 last year,
Yeah.
and this. I hate taxes because I learned it's not like you pay taxes and you get it back at the end of the year. No, you pay taxes and you get it back if you overpaid in taxes.
Right.
It's not like you just get that money back.
Right.
Say you pay $100 in taxes every month, but the government only charged you $87 in taxes for every month. Then at the end of the year, you get that $13. It's just a
Right.
refund. It's an interest-free loan that you're giving to the government.
Right.
So, I mean, it would feel good to get a return back, but technically, if you get a return back, you weren't doing your.
It's not more money.
Yes,
it's money that you already had.
Yeah.
That was taken.
Exactly.
So,
and they're already kids. Unless you have kids, start popping them out. $2,000 a kid. $2,000
That's
a kid.
true. And they're already taxing people more than they should be anyway.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I'll probably be in another tax bracket after this year.
Yeah.
And it's exponentially more.
Yeah.
Just one step above the bottom tax bracket. Just one step above that is exponentially more.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. It could be worse. I'm in a good spot, except for my car. Rest in peace.
How is life outside of work and all this other stuff?
We're playing pickleball 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I want to see you back.
I want to come back.
I want to see you back. I don't mean to toot my horn, but I am the greatest pickleball player to ever step on the court. I say that all humbly. If you want smoke, you can find it. You don't really want it, but you can find it. I actually am off of all social media. I deleted all my social media. I deleted Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everything.
Why? Why did you do that?
It's the devil. It is of the devil. And I know it's how you use it, but I know how I use it is not the right way. I spend too much time scrolling.
Right.
I spend too much time, I don't know who's going to watch this, but basically I am tempted by social media in multiple ways. Just scrolling on social media, you see things, and it's not what I want to be. And honestly, I don't want anybody to check up on me. I don't want anybody from my past being how's Chuck doing?
You just want to live your
tables
life.
At Great Wolf Lodge. How about you just mind your business?
Right.
I'll see you in 40 years at a reunion somewhere.
Right.
But I just don't want anybody in my business. I don't care to share opinions online because I know no matter what I say, there will be negative feedback from someone. Even if you're right, even if you're completely right, somebody will you can say the wall's white. Well, actually, that's an eggshell white. Something Todd would say. That's something Todd would say. It's beautiful weather. It's actually a little windy. Okay, that's nice.
Right.
So it's give or take, man.
Yeah, that is great self-awareness. There was a point in my life where I deleted Instagram for like an entire year, and then I was like, oh, it's time to come back on because I felt like I had taken enough of a break. And there are certain things that you can accomplish with social media that it's hard to accomplish without it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm trying to like build a brand or something,
social media is imperative.
Then you can't really do that without it. Yeah. So, but you absolutely have to limit yourself because there is so much stuff out there. You can't go on fucking Twitter without seeing I don't even look at shit on Twitter. I go on there and there's sports shit. There's other shit that like I get notifications about that I look at. There's so much porn. There's so much pictures of naked women and shit.
Yeah.
That
Twitter's it's become the Wild West.
It's like
Reddit.
What?
And that's the only thing I still have is Reddit because I use Reddit so much in my daily life. When I have problems with my fish tank, when I have problems doing this or doing that.
Reddit is good.
Reddit is good, but I mean, you can see heads getting cut off, children getting killed, people getting, anything. You can see on
There's
Reddit.
bad sides of everything.
And, the porn on Reddit is just as, that's the thing. And actually, I've blocked porn on my phone. I blocked myself from watching porn.
I did that, yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, it's been like, damn, I don't know who's watching this, but I'm a strong man, okay? I have been being strong. And I don't want to, like, it makes me feel dirty. It makes me feel unholy. Yeah. And I want to get back to just, and it's multiple things in my life. I want to completely quit out weed. I want to completely quit out drinking. I haven't drank in a week. And it's not like I was an alcoholic, but I mean, I'm quitting cold turkey. Yeah. I haven't quit weed yet because I feel like that's my vice when I come home and I'm stressed and I really have something to look forward to. When I don't have something to look forward to, like I'm not looking forward to going home. And then when you go home, I need something to wind down. My brain doesn't just shut off. Yeah. I'm up for a few hours. And then that's at the end of the night, that's when I start, I need something. And I don't want to turn to alcohol. Yeah. I don't want to turn to, any other vice, nicotine. I don't want to do that. I've never had any negative things happen to my life from marijuana other than the consequences of it being illegal. Like nothing, like it doesn't make me angry. It doesn't make me act any type of way. I hit a dab before this podcast. I think I'm talking pretty coherently. Yeah. So, I mean, but it's also because I use it so much, it doesn't affect me the way it would affect a normal user.
Well, I don't know. And here's my thing. And coming from someone that went they're I'm 20 years old, went their entire life so far up to this point, not doing any sort of drugs, never taking a hit of anything, never doing that, never, I mean, when I was like 10 and my mom was like, take a sip of this beer, try it, never like drinking a beer
Man, you
because
should get in the priesthood,
it
man.
didn't, it just never interested me.
Yeah.
Um, One, because I saw how it affected Christopher and I saw how he got into not only the weed, but he got into other hard drugs that he shouldn't have been doing, but it led him down the wrong paths, and I never wanted to do that, especially because I looked up to him when I was younger like he was God. Like he could do no wrong, and so that kind of changed my mindset on it. And the second reason would just be because it just served no purpose in my life. Like I told myself I'm fine without it. I can be fine without it the rest of my life, or I can be fine without it until I'm ready to introduce myself to it. Like, but you just have to be responsible.
It's
with
one
it.
thing when you've never had a vice and you've never had to leech up, but once you might have something else that
Right.
you're addicted to, that it has a positive stimulus in your brain. Serotonin, oxytocin is released, and
Right.
it positive things.
Yeah.
And for me, at a very early age, it was women and marijuana. I
Yeah.
mean, I have liked women since I was 5 years old. I will never forget in kindergarten, my buddy, he was like, Chucky, come over, have a nice sight. And his name was Simon. He was an Asian
Right.
kid, one of my good friends. And then
When the Asian kid is getting you into women, there's
he
something
was
going on.
he was, trust me, he was been looking.
Ooh.
And I looked up, and there was my teacher, Miss Radichat, fresh out of Towson University, probably 22 years old,
Oh.
bending over helping a kid, and you could just see boobies, and I was just like, and then ever since that, like, I have liked women,
Yeah.
and that has been my crutch. That has really been, I have struggled with lust. That, like, if everybody has their demon, everybody has their fateful sin. Mine has been women. Like, I love women, and I just do. I'm the exact opposite of gay, and I need to back that. I really need to back
Oh
that.
man,
I
we
need to
gotta
back
clip
it up.
that.
Yeah,
I am the exact opposite of gay.
Yes,
like
I'm
you.
as heterosexual as it gets. But
man.
I just I went through young rambunctious where I just couldn't stay faithful to a girl, and it all stemmed from my phone. It would stem from late at night scrolling on Instagram, seeing somebody that I think I might have a shot with. Somebody,
Yeah.
there's always somebody. No matter who you're with, there's always going to be somebody that's a little bit more attractive, somebody that's got a little bit more this, a little bit more that. But it's
Right.
all about loving the person that is yours.
Yeah.
You have to love the person that chose you and that loves you as well and picks you and respects you. And it took me, like, Megan is the first girlfriend who I've never cheated on. And I've never, 2 years, I've never, like, even come close to cheating on Megan. And, like, that's it. It takes, there's been temptation. There's absolutely been temptation. You're walking and you see a beautiful girl.
Right.
And you have to train yourself not to look. You have to train your eyes not to look. And you go your whole life
Right.
looking.
You have to rewire your brain.
You have to completely rewire
Yeah.
your brain. You can't even have conversations with girls in the same way. You're talking
Right.
to girls and you realize this girl's a little friendly. You
Right.
can't entertain
This is
it.
going a direction that in the
Yeah.
past would lead me down a road
Exactly.
that I can't go down.
And you even have
know?
to change up, like, because I'm a naturally friendly person, and I
Right.
can't be friendly to girls who I know want to be more than friendly with me, because
Right.
that gives them the wrong idea.
Yeah.
And, like, it's taken learning curves, but I've been cheated on many times, and I feel like we have a better shot of North Korea nuking us than on Megan cheating on me. I really do. And that's a testament. That's why I will marry her one day. Like, I do feel like I found the one for me.
Yeah.
She does not like porn. I'll tell you that. She does not like porn. And I don't even like it. Well, I do,
Yeah.
but I don't.
That's what you
know?
need. That's like what you need to find is a woman who is
Yeah.
not into that stuff in any way.
Yeah, not at all.
And like
not at all.
how old are you?
25. I just turned 26. I'm
20.
an old man.
Yeah, so you're like Christopher's, like
Yeah.
2 years
Yeah,
younger
yeah.
than him. Yeah. So we're like kind of the same generation, but not because I don't know. 5 years is a long time. So
And also, I was the youngest of my siblings, so I identify with an older generation because I
yeah,
was learning
that's
from my
very
older
true. Because
sibling.
I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
It's me and my younger brother who's 17, and then two younger sisters and an older brother who's older than me by like 8 years.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of in the middle.
Like I'm almost a millennial.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah. So you're like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's this
I'm a
middle
90s baby
ground.
for sure.
Yeah,
90s baby for sure.
yeah.
And like, but my first coherent thoughts are like 2002, 2003.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know where
I'm
you classify that.
yeah.
In between.
I don't know. Yeah, definitely in between because I'm
You
2003.
Gen X or Gen Z?
I think I'm Gen X.
Gen X.
I want to say Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like saying I'm
I don't
Gen
like
Z.
identifying with Gen Z.
Yeah.
I don't know. They get a bad rap,
They
but
do. You know who should get a bad rep? The baby boomers.
they
destroyed
well yeah
the
that,
world.
there was they did, and there was that point in time where it was just like, an old guy would say something. It was like, "Shut up, boomer!" Like that was
Yeah.
a thing,
Yeah.
and it was like, finally, the old
They-
people are getting what they deserve.
And then Karen has now overtaken that, and the boomer. I feel like now there's going to be something else. What's the next word that's going to happen? The offensive word. It was Karen, and it was boomer, and there's another one now. Maybe I'm missing it.
I don't know.
I'm missing it. I don't know. Back to her.
Probably something. I mean, probably something about like
Geezers was my old favorite.
geezers.
Geezers
That's a
is
good
my
word. That
favorite.
word should come back.
Yeah, geriatrics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Those are good ones.
So
Let's not hate the old people. They fought in the greatest war of all time.
That is
That
true.
wasn't the baby boomers. That was the baby boomer. That was their parents.
They didn't have to deal with Ukraine though, and Palestine and all that shit.
They
didn't ha-
actually probably did, just not
Yeah.
as only if you were in the middle, like only if you were in the military, probably, because there has been problems
Yeah.
in the Middle East for a long time,
Yeah.
like since like the 70s, and not actually we're
Yeah.
talking about the 40s. It's been all over after the Zionist movement after World
Right.
War II, when they
Yeah.
took the Jews out of, they took the Palestinians out of Israel and put the Jews there.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So where was I? I was talking about our age. Yeah. So yeah. So for people around my age and yours as well, but I feel like mine definitely because the internet was like starting to become a thing when you were like younger, and then like
I had a MySpace.
right. I never had that.
I had a Facebook in 2007.
Right.
And it was just college kids.
Yeah. So I never had that stuff because I was too young.
Yeah.
So I'm like just behind you,
I
and
don't know nothing about AOL.
I know nothing about it.
dial up.
I know.
All- yeah.
I grew up and it was Instagram and
Nope.
Musically.
I remember
but-
when Instagram was invented.
Yeah.
I remember when Snapchat was invented.
Yeah.
And I got them instantly and posted. I have a picture from 2012 from Snapchat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for my generation, growing up with that stuff made it so incredibly hard for stuff like lust because the whole thing is to get you hooked.
It's designed to do that.
Right. It's designed to do that. So there's just all this stuff, all this information constantly coming at you. And your brain at such a young age, at 13 years old, is not meant to handle that. And when so much of it is an algorithm based upon what you like, at 13 years old, what do you like?
Boobs.
I like baseball, I like sports, I like video games, and I liked cute girls at as a
Boobs,
teenager.
Baseball.
And
13 not booze yet. 14 I was there.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
you were ahead of the
I
game.
was.
No, well, the kids now are getting into all this shit.
It's actually more concerning because
Yeah.
you got 10-year-olds hitting vape pens, hitting
Yeah,
dab pens.
it's horrible. And they're
Like-
going to the hospital, and the parents are like, "I didn't know this was happening."
When
There's
I-
no accountability.
When I first started smoking weed, and weed wasn't nearly as. I mean, it was decent. 10 to 15%. Now it's about 30%.
Yeah,
But
Well, 'cause they're genetically modifying all of it.
off of just one puff of Mexican bushweed, and it would keep me high all day, burnt for hours. When I closed my eyes, I would get hallucinations. I would get visuals, and like 9-year-old, like that would burn me out for the entire day. And then you doing that over time, that burns neuroprocesses, that burns links in your brain. And
right.
for 9 and 10-year-olds to be messing with their consciousness that early,
Yeah.
it's very concerning. It's extremely concerning. And that's, hippocampus areas in your brain, the gray matter in your brain,
Right.
attention deficit,
And it was, yeah. And I mean, people make fun of like the whole, it kills your brain cells thing. I mean, that's true. And like weed has traces of heavy metals in it.
Yeah.
So
that's why I dab. I've moved away from, because I've put so much
Yeah.
tax on my lungs.
Yeah.
I've moved to just vaporizing concentrate.
Right.
Which is, I don't know, there's no combustion of flower. There's no
Right.
inhaling smoke.
Yeah.
I've lost. I developed a smoker's cough.
Yeah.
And I completely lost that since I started dabbing. But I still, I want to be, the longest I've ever went without smoking since I was 14 years old was 9 days when I went to Hawaii. Before that, it was 4 days.
Yeah.
But like since I was, that's 10 years, 11 years. I'm 26. Jeez, that's 12 years.
Yeah.
I just don't want to live. When I have kids, I don't want them to associate the smell of weed with their father. I don't want them to think that their father, like, that's completely. When I have kids, there's cold turkey everything.
Yeah.
That's the complete motivation for me. I probably won't ever take a day off again when I have a kid.
Yeah.
Because there's no need to. Why? I have a child.
Right.
So I'm not at that point yet. It's helping me. Marijuana actually helps me at this point. It helps me because I would rather do that than drink some alcohol. But I want to get to the point where I don't have anything, where I go to the gym when I'm feeling like that. When I meditate instead of doing that. When I read a book. When I do a puzzle. Do something productive towards my brain or my body instead of going down bad paths.
Yeah. It's so difficult. Like it like I can't explain it because I haven't dealt with substances, but my thing has been lust. That's been the one thing, and you wouldn't think it because a lot of people that know me, and I put myself out there.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
I put myself out there as like people know me as the positivity guy, the motivational speaker guy, the whatever, but like everybody has their thing. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that. But like the one thing would be when I was younger, when you get hooked on something when you're younger, when you're 13, 14 years old and you're just jerking it all the time.
I was like 8.
That shit just it goes with you.
Nothing would come out.
Right.
Oh my
right.
God.
And I'm lucky I didn't start at fucking 8 years old. But when you're that young and your brain's not developed and you develop a habit, it goes with you as you grow up.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's not even it's a habitual thing.
And that's
it's when I wake up and I'm bored. Before I go to sleep and I'm bored.
Right.
When I'm bored.
Yeah.
It's not even like, oh, hey, I want to sin today.
It's
or,
just
hey, I'm making a bad choice. It's just so habitual.
It's something to do.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing like with like vaping. It's like the habit of like having something in your hand, having something to do, having something in your mouth or somewhere, that's the thing.
And I think we should be a little more lenient towards ourselves in a way for the lust thing because we are biologically designed to think that way.
Yes, that is true.
So we're fighting every human urge to not do that.
It's that monkey brain.
It's the monkey brain, and that's if we didn't have that monkey brain, we wouldn't reproduce. We wouldn't have a species,
and we wouldn't have the survival instinct. We wouldn't have any of these other instincts that we have.
And you'd be surprised how much the monkey brain. As soon as you come to your senses immediately after, you start deleting search histories. You start
and it's like, it's also at the same time, you just feel like shit. You feel like shit, and it's another thing is it's making people infertile. It is like. I
think there's multiple factors into that.
Well, that is true.
Most of them, and I honestly don't know exactly because I'd have to see the study you're talking about because I've actually read studies that it prevents the more often you have sex in a week or no matter how you orgasm, whatever, it reduces the risk of prostate cancer. It recycles old and keeps you regenerating new sperm. But I'd have to see.
It also causes erectile dysfunction
and
the more you do it. But it's not. I think. Having sex is different than just masturbating.
Yeah,
that is a totally different thing.
You get a
yeah, it's not even
close.
close. It is not even close. Yeah. So I mean, it's like it's just horrible. Like it's just not good. Like objectively, you can look at something and be like, "Oh, everything is good in moderation." But there are some things that are just not good for you. Like eating Doritos will never, ever in a million years be good for you.
Yeah.
Like,
I love Doritos too.
That's the thing. It's always the stuff that you love that is just so great for you that
it's not.
It's
secretly poisonous to your soul inside.
It's slowly killing you. But that's the entire thing, and we don't have to get into it. But they're trying to kill us.
Yeah.
Do you actually believe that all these companies they want you to be healthy because they're making it's low fat? Who the fuck cares about low fat? Nobody gives a shit about low fat. Eat some fucking blueberries. Like I don't like.
There's a little bit of truth into the fat. You don't want too many trans fats. Well, trans fats are actually legal to put into foods now.
Well, there's healthy fats.
Yeah, polysaturated, unsaturated. Yeah.
Right. When you eat a steak, that is healthy fat. When you
Now the seasoning on that's sodium on that steak.
That's right. That's why when I eat a steak, I just put salt. I don't put any of the other. I don't put the steak seasoning. I don't dip it in any A1 sauce or any of that. I just put salt, and it tastes fine.
Because like fat from Doritos is not equivalent to fat from chicken or fat from ham.
Right.
It's not
100%. 100%.
That's processed fat.
Yeah.
That's fat that goes straight into your reserves. It doesn't serve any purpose.
And it sits there.
Yeah.
Never mind all the artificial colors and all that other fake plastic GMO shit.
That's causing infertility.
Yeah.
It's chemicals in our shampoo,
and
in our deodorant.
And it's the microplastics that.
And have you noticed? Like, I don't know if you noticed, but like white people especially, and Americans are dropping infertility rates as lowest, and like Latinos, for example, are having their fertility rate is through the roof. And like I just wonder is that because they have a better diet in Hispanic countries where they're eating rice and actual fruit and actual vegetables when we
stuff that they grow themselves.
We eat a processed diet. Everything's processed.
Yeah.
Full of sugar, full of salt, full of everything that's terrible for your body. And like that might be a contributing factor. Are we? And is it on purpose? Was this a design to stop population growth? Was it a design from governments to cut down on population growth? If we can't do abortion, just make them infertile.
I would say yes, and I know a lot of people are gonna say you conspiracy theorists. When you have Bill Gates, who is literally consulting governments across the world, and he is telling people that we want to decrease the population and we want to keep the population under a certain amount, then yeah, like there probably is something. When you look, do you know the Georgia Guidestones thing? So there are these Guidestones in the state of Georgia, they were actually somebody like blew them up or collapsed them or something, and it was it said keep humanity within a.
Was it instructions to rebuild the world after apocalypse?
It was
stones in Georgia.
Yes.
And like if somebody like a future civilization found it and had to rebuild humanity, they would read these stones and they were instructions.
No.
All right, keep going. Okay.
Anyway, it was. It might be. I don't know. But there were these stones, obviously, and it said keep humanity within a balance of nature under 5 million or within 5 million or something of the population, 500 million, something like, I forget the exact number. It was 5 and then a bunch of zeros. But yeah, like they want to kill most of the population off. Why do you think that everybody's always all these politicians talking about we're overpopulated? We're not overpopulated.
There is an easy way to feed everybody on this planet.
Right.
They could easily allocate the resource. If we spend as much money as we put into national defense, as we put into the desalinated, the taking the salt out of our ocean water and using it for fresh water, we could grow agriculture everywhere. We could build islands in the ocean and as just farms, and we could harness the power. There's ways. There is ways. As a human collective consciousness, collective consciousness.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, we could solve human hunger easily.
Yeah,
easily.
We could.
And there's no need to depopulate the planet.
No,
there's absolutely no. You know how dense. How United States. I hate to kill the entire environment, but we have a very sparsely populated country. We could spread out. Go to the Midwest. There's plenty of room for people, and then you go to New Delhi, India.
Right.
They're building on top. They
you look at how only a quarter of China is actually populated, and they're all like in these cities, literally like the ghetto, and they're all like there's 10 people in one fucking house, and they're all working in all these factories and shit, and they're like, kill the environment, and we're like, yeah, full fucking Xi Jinping is talking about killing the environment while he's putting all these people, and he's flying on his private jets, and he's like, we're killing the ozone layer. I don't think that's it.
Did you hear they took their pandas back?
Yeah, I did hear they took their pandas back.
They want them back, man.
Yeah, they
in blood, pettiness.
Yeah, the 5 pandas in the world that actually exist, and they're gonna fucking kill them. They're gonna kill
communist pandas now.
The communist fucking pandas.
I can't believe for a band, the communist panda.
The communist pandas. Yeah. That would be cool if we ever start a band.
Black and white.
Yeah, the communist.
Black and white. Communist.
And we'd be a heavy political.
Yeah.
But we're not communists.
No, we're not communists.
No.
You know, communism on paper that was perfect. If you want to talk on paper,
there's a lot of things on paper that are perfect that I can lay out for you, and it's like you'd think I'm a genius.
Because if you think about democracy, you know, everybody pays taxes. Kind of sucks.
Well, we're not actually a democracy.
We're a democratic republic.
Right, but everybody wants to call us a democracy.
Yeah.
Democracy,
it's not true democracy. We have elected officials.
Exactly, which is democracy has never and will never work. You cannot be a complete democracy.
And that's
a democratic republic. But basically, what people want now is a dictatorship, and that's why they're trying to do all the one world government, cashless. They're putting everything.
We've been doing this a while. You think we would have learned by now?
Right, but people don't see it because they roll it out slowly, and then they tell you will own nothing and be happy, and then people are like, oh, but they're just saying that. It's just words on a screen.
I forgot how much they said what started the Revolutionary War, what the tax rate was that started the Revolutionary War, like something like 2.5%, and it made everybody riot and start a Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Our tax rate right now is ridiculous. And you know why we can't riot? Okay, because you don't pay your taxes, they ruin your credit score. Good luck. 7 years, can you buy a house? Can you do
right.
This? So you completely take the mob mentality out of the mob when you screw the individual at every single level of the game. He can't be like, okay, let me riot today. No, because you got work and you don't pay your rent, and you don't pay your taxes. You know, we live in our founding fathers would be rolling in their grave.
They
absolutely rolling. They would start a new country. They would absolutely secede from the
Union. Yeah.
They would absolutely secede from the
Union. It's insane.
I don't.
It is absolutely insane.
I really don't. It's and then that's the thing that they're talking about, the Holy War. The United States is their culture. It is completely downhill. I mean, like Cardi B. Like, just that is what children are listening to.
Yeah, and you have Lil Nas X twerking on the devil in a music video, and then
they're not even hiding it anymore.
No, they're not.
It's not even subliminal.
They're not. But here's the thing. You have them doing that, but then Lil Nas X tweets out. He's like, I can't believe people think that I hate God. I can't believe people think I'm not a Christian.
Blood in your shoes and
exactly. You tried to rip off fucking Nike, and you tried to put actual drops of blood in shoes and said 666, and you said, but I love God. And you made a music video where you're twerking on the devil and you're trying to push this agenda. Yeah. Men can get pregnant, and you're doing all this other shit. And it's like, I'm not saying all transgender people are Satanists or anything like that. I'm not saying all gay people are Satanists or anything like that. But he's pushing some sort of agenda towards that. Right. But he's also pushing these other agendas, so it all just mixed together.
I'm not condemning, but I'm not encouraging.
100%.
Big difference.
100%.
You can love your neighbor. You don't have to agree with what your neighbor's doing.
Yeah. 100%. But it's obvious to me that there's some sort of attack on people's psyche, the way we think,
there's an attack on morality as a whole.
Right.
On Christianity, on Christian values. This country was based on Christian values, founded on Christian values. You know, the national anthem, "In God We Trust." You know, you know, one nation under God. That's our founders knew that this was a nation upon moral Western Christian principles.
Yeah,
completely have abandoned that. And now it's based on money. It's completely like, even you can get down to anything. You can get down to anything. It's all over the place, man.
I think that the people that secretly run everything. At some point, they're going to get too greedy, and they're going to get ahead of
I
themselves.
don't want to. It's those who own the banks,
Yeah.
and those who own the banks are Jewish. But not just the Jews. It's not just
Right.
the Jews. Saudi Arabia is pretty
Right.
wild too. Saudi Arabia is doing their
Yes.
best.
It's not.
You know,
It's not like
Vladimir Putin's doing his
Yeah.
best, but at the same time, Vladimir Putin's preaching to his people. He's in a holy war against Western because it's a Eastern Orthodox values versus Western values.
People hate Vladimir Putin until they realize that he banned genetically modified foods from his country.
Yeah.
And he is also actively trying to hunt down sexual predators and
Yeah.
stop sex trafficking in his country, which Russia is one of the countries that is very well known for sex trafficking.
Oh yeah.
So he's trying to get rid of some negative shit, but people want to paint him as the villain
When you have Western media painting the picture,
when they're going to war with Ukraine. Zelensky was never a politician. Zelensky,
he was an actor.
he was a fucking comedian.
Yeah.
And then they put him in office and they're like, let's put
Good
this
luck.
guy on a pedestal. This is the guy. And
Hopefully it ends in a stalemate. They just take back, Russia just claims back the ethnically Russian territories, and they just call
yeah,
it a day.
it's
Stop killing
just
each other.
getting into this thing where it's like, and the more money, trillions and trillions of dollars are going to go into this, and it already has.
Tell you what, though, we have definitely called Russia's bluff on a lot because there was a lot of red lines that we crossed that they didn't respond the way that they said they were going to respond.
Yeah.
And
But you can't keep doing that.
Can't
Is
keep
the
doing
thing because
Can't keep
do you want to get into nuclear war? I don't
North
think so.
North
but-
Korea, honestly, I'm very up to date with foreign diplomacy, and it's almost not of if North Korea attacks South Korea, it's about when.
yeah.
They have positioned nukes. They have ramped up. They've stopped talks, and actually they tore up their old constitution a couple weeks ago, made a new constitution, and have named South Korea the #1 enemy of North Korea. And in the old constitution, it was the unification of trying to unify the peninsula and try to make it all one Korea again. But they know it would never happen, and it was unlikely. But now it's completely like, no, South Korea, death to South Korea. And man, I just really hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't start. And it's popping off all over the place.
Yeah.
In Iran and Jordan and Yemen.
But it's all a money thing because war is money.
War is money,
and we
but
know
this
this.
This war seems different. The way that they're killing people, because trust me, I've seen it on Reddit, man. It's almost like a video game. They're dropping grenades from drones, pinpoint precision into. You got a hole that big, they're dropping a grenade into it.
Yeah, technology has gotten better, but I mean, people said this about the Vietnam War. People said, like it was,
It is different.
and we.
AI
I mean,
is scary.
yes.
AI is scary, and we are not the leaders in AI. China is, and when
Yeah.
because there's no cash at all in China, no cash. And they make. I watched a thing on 60 Minutes last night. They use 12 times as many online digital transactions as we use. All of their faces, every single face in China is in the system. Facial recognition. Facial recognition for everything. Cup of coffee, scan your face.
Yeah.
Everything.
You can't run a red light without getting your credit drained.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and then imagine if these people have like you can send drones the size of flies with explosives that blow somebody's head off through a vent.
Yeah.
That's like we just have the war is not a thing that needs to be existing in the 21st century anymore because it is just not winnable.
It's gonna
You
be
cannot
cyber.
win.
It's going to be cyber. Did you watch that next Netflix movie, Leave the World Behind?
I've seen many Netflix documentaries. How long?
It wasn't a document. It was a movie. It was.
How long did it come out?
It was this year.
Yeah,
or
probably not
or
then.
2023.
Probably not then.
Okay. It was called Leave the World Behind. It was about like if a cyber attack happened and the grid went down and what would happen. And it was produced by the Obamas, and so everybody's like, "Oh, the grid's gonna go down." And I'm like, "I've been saying this for years. The grid's
EMP
going to
nuke.
go down, and none of you are ready."
EMP nuke above the atmosphere takes
Yeah.
off an entire power grid. We all starve in 2 weeks. Everybody. Refrigerators don't work. Batteries in your remotes don't work. Car batteries don't work.
Right.
Like, all your food goes bad. All the spoils. The only thing non-perishables. That's it.
Right.
Grocery stores are going to be ransacked within an hour. Because I know, all personal experience, EMP goes off, I'm hitting Wegmans up for everything that they got, every can that they got. Because if I don't, somebody else will. I'm already
Yeah.
dead. I'm already dead. Just actually,
all these billionaires that are building bunkers aren't
yeah.
dead. You hear about that? It's like, why are all these billionaires building
The
bunkers?
doomsday preppers, that wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
I should have been, if only in 2008 I bought a house. In only 2008, when I was 10, I bought I built a bunker underground in West Virginia in the mountains.
That would have been nice.
Would have been nice. I'd be down there right now probably, smoking on the porch. I don't smoke anymore. Drinking a coffee on the porch.
Well, you smoke, but you don't smoke.
Yeah, I vaporize.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like
Yeah. It's crazy. It's a crazy fucking world, and it seems like we're all gonna die, but at the same time, like, were we gonna live forever anyway?
No.
No. So like,
It's all about continuing the generations of like preserving this planet for future generations, not destroying it. And at our time, the future generations did not care.
Yeah.
Because our generation, few and far between, people will litter. You know, and if they do, they'll be called out by their friends mostly.
Yeah.
You know, but 30 years ago, it wasn't like that. Generations littered. They went to landfills. Like, they just didn't care. Plastic it's still all over the place. But now the generation is more climate conscientious.
Yeah.
So I think we are on the path of rebuilding the planet.
Yeah.
But humanity, I think, is turning down in a bad way.
We had this conversation last time, and you said, and I've referenced this a couple times, either on the podcast or off air with other people. Is that you said, I believe that good will always outweigh bad, but it will always be 51-49. And
my take was it's mostly bad, but good will always prevail.
Right.
Like that. Like that. There's way more bad than good. But good in the end will always prevail because I feel that's what God is.
I mean, yeah, and I'm kind of the flip side of that. I feel like there's more good than bad. I feel like it's harder to find it, and you have to look harder. But it's also, do you want to look? And I feel like a lot of people don't want to look, and the people that do want to look aren't out there saying, "Look at me, look at me."
It goes the same way. Get on Reddit, you'll see some evil that you didn't know exists. So there's some deep evil, and that's why my personal opinion is the level of evilness.
Yeah.
The amount of evil in the world. You can't.
But that shit's always going to be magnified, right? That's my take.
Yeah, you know, there's a video of there was a news story of a guy in Pennsylvania a couple days ago who cut his dad's head off, put it in a plastic saran wrap, put it in a pot, and then his mom came home and found her decapitated dad. And they just arrested this guy, a couple days ago. Like, and he posted the video on YouTube, and it was on YouTube. It had like 10,000 views before they took it down. Posted, and he did it because his dad worked for the federal government for 20 years, and he was like had a big thing against federal workers because he sued the government for student loans that he took out and how he got out of and then whatever.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like. That level of evil, like they're like that happened, the bombing of children, the killing of children, like what good outweighs that, like what is the love of Jesus, I would say outweighs that.
That doesn't the guy beheading his dad, that doesn't tell me that it's getting worse. It tells me, okay, he posted on YouTube. 10,000 people saw it instead of
the first person to do that.
Instead of 100 people would have known about it in 1965.
Right.
The same shit was happening.
Now it just reaches a broader mass.
Right. It reaches more people, and so everybody's freaking out about it more. And so when people freak out, it's that fight or flight response, and so they start doing crazy shit. Now everybody's doing crazy shit because they're just constantly reacting.
That's an interesting argument too, because in medieval days, people cut each other's heads off all the time. That was very normal, and now we taboo it so much. But you're right. You're very right about that.
There's a lot of fucking evil out there, and it's hard. It's hard because when you look, and that's another thing about social media is when you go on social media. You're not gonna see good things. You're just not going to. When you look on Twitter, do you really think that Elon Musk is gonna make his billions and billions of dollars back by showing people positive messages? No, he's not. He's going to build the algorithm in a way that's going to show people negative things because it sells more. It's amplified and it's horrible and it's evil and it's only going to become more amplified, but I mean,
and so what do we do about it personally? How do we make a change? I feel like my change was delete social
yeah,
media, take it out of my
you
life.
decide what you want to see and you know, and you make yourself aware of it, but you make yourself aware of how to avoid it. And you do your best and you go out there and you spread a positive message. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to make your own podcast or have your own show and start like preaching the gospel or whatever, but in your day-to-day life, how you interact with people, you know, go out of your way to do something nice for somebody, you know, that act of daily kindness or whatever that you know, people get away from. Just do that. Hold
One
the
thing
door.
about social media I'll miss
Right.
about I'll miss your daily messages,
Yeah.
your daily inspiration.
I can't tell you and how many people have told me like this just brings joy to my day. And I'm like, that's why I do it, because I know people need it. And I know that this might be the only positive thing you see on Instagram today. So I'm going to put it there.
Where is that infamous board?
It's in my room.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
It's,
about to say,
it is kind of infamous by now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How we looking on time?
We've been going about an hour.
We're going about an hour. Well, I probably have to wrap it up. My girlfriend is waiting for me.
Okay.
It is my only off day. I work like a horse. But next time, let's I enjoy. I think we covered some good topics today.
We did. We got less away from your personal story because last time we were it's like let's get to know each other because you have a lot of shit.
Yeah. We'll dive back in another time.
I still think you should write that book.
Thank you. I will. I hopefully I will. Just like I said, I need a conclusion. I need a great conclusion. And hopefully my conclusion is having great kids.
Maybe that comes when you're 50.
Maybe that comes when I'm 50.
Who knows? It's all God's time.
But maybe I'll lose my mind. I got to start writing down some memoirs. You're right, because like point of views. You know, when you're in that moment, it's good to write thoughts down. So you're right. I should start writing.
I agree.
Instead of nefarious activities, let me start. When I feel like that, let me write.
Yeah,
I'll do that. So it was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure having you. We probably could have gone an hour longer.
We could have.
I mean, like we have so much.
We killed an hour and 15 minutes. That was
it
crazy.
goes by quick.
It does.
But thank you so much for coming on. You're a great guy.
Yeah.
And
I love the name drop.
Even though
in mid conversation too, collective consciousness.
I know we got that.
That was crazy.
I know it was it just flowed. You didn't even try.
Didn't try.
Didn't even try. So
was meant to be.
All right, thanks, man.
Peace
We'll
and
keep
love,
in
guys.
touch. And for you guys, check out any of the videos on the screen. Check out the social media stuff. Click the bell or the subscribe button, all that shit. And we'll see you later. All right. That was good.
It was, man. I wish I would have talked longer. Megan is waiting on me. I told her 3 to 4.